Hey, welcome into another edition of the Rice Football Blue and Gray preview show. We're back for the 12th and possibly final time of this season. We will see. JP, we've made it to the somewhat end, all in one piece for the most part. How are we feeling?
We're feeling good. I think in whole, I think our wit and banter and presentation surroundings took a big step forward, as the Owls have, that incremental increase Coach Bloomgren was talking about a week or two ago. I think we have done the same, if not more, brother. Hope that this holiday season finds you well, and looking forward to this one.
Yeah, go eat a turkey for us or whatever your food, ham. There's all sorts of things now, but go find your favorite Thanksgiving dish and watch the Egg Bowl. Like the Egg Bowl's still on TV on Thanksgiving night, right?
Yeah, that's the one left.
Is that what we're doing?
And you've got the state school in Austin taking on the Baptist Friday, and then full slate Saturday. So,
taking on the Baptists.
As a former Baptist, I think I can say that. So, yeah, there's no shortage of football to be had here.
Not to be confused with the no longer Baptist, but kind of Baptist Houston Christian basketball team that Rice beat earlier this week.
Fun win the other night, yeah.
Great win. That was fun. You know what wasn't fun, JP? This is a professional segue right here. What wasn't fun was the last football game that we experienced, the last Conference USA football game that will ever be played at Rice Stadium. That was not fun. One quick note here, and then we will quickly turn the page towards the next week. What do you take away from a loss like this?
Well, the first thing is it's all still there. Your season's not shot. You still have a huge goal. We might elaborate on the podium time in a little bit, but Jack Bradley summed it up, how much it would mean to clinch a bowl game. And I know to be bowl eligible. And I know you have, you're my trusted source here to tell me what has to happen. They could still get in as a 5-win team. But Coach Bloomgren said, he stopped short of saying we don't want it that way. He said we want to earn it out on the field with a win against Seth Luttrell's team that we're about to preview. But it's still out in front of them. Unfortunately, you can't do much in this game when you're shorthanded at quarterback. I think that's been the theme of our friendship here the last few years. You're the quarterback whisperer. If A.J. Padgett does indeed start coming up Saturday, it'd be the 13th different quarterback to start. So he showed some promise, but being on the scout team the week leading up to the UTSA game, you can't expect much more from what they did. And hopefully we don't know just yet because we haven't been to the full weeks of practice. But, yeah, I don't even know what you're talking about. There was a game Saturday. I'm really trying to block out that UTSA game. Props to them, though. Jeff Traylor, tremendous job. Taking that program to the next level and then continuing that, doubling up this year with a shot at another conference title.
Yeah, and two quick plugs here off the top. If you do want to relive that and get into the weeds of what exactly went wrong, the Roost podcast, we put that out at the beginning of every week, Carter and myself. It's up there on wherever you get your podcast. I'm sure there's an app the kids are using these days. Go listen to that if you want to rehash that. We're not going to rehash it here. And then the second thing is the 5-win thing. We're going to talk about North Texas. We have plenty of time to talk about 5-win scenarios and bowl games and all of that stuff should Rice lose this weekend. But I will plug on Patreon. I put together a piece. Rice has, I'm going to say, a decent chance to pretty good chance to qualify for bowl as a 5-win team. There's a lot that goes on to that. Of course, grades are involved because this is Rice, and there are, I think, 14 other teams that potentially could have a say in how that goes. So if you want a rooting guide for this week and an excuse to watch more football on Saturday, I have a whole list of teams that you need to cheer for to lose to get Rice into the postseason. So go check that out on Patreon. Just went up before this show, and then we'll save bowl conversation for maybe we get to do one more of these. JP, I'd be. Are you cool? You cool to do one more?
Yeah.
If we get there?
I love doing these. It gets me sharper. It keeps me on my toes to prep. I was up deep into the night preparing for this show, Matthew, and a broadcast coming up. But no,
I
because
have
of
no doubt.
because of the turkey day, family and whatnot. So can't wait. But
Yeah.
I love doing these with you, brother. So anytime.
A bit of a condensed, you know, grouping of things. I guess the last time Rice had to play on a atypical week, we'll call it, would be the UTEP game after having a very frustrating, potentially embarrassing, you could say, loss the week before. They played UTEP on Thursday, and that one worked out pretty well. So this is going to be a bit of a different week. They'll have families in town Thursday at the Patterson Center to do some extra turkey eating, but it just things will be a little bit different with practice schedules and everything that goes into that. So maybe that plays in to the Rice's favor this coming weekend. They were hoping to avoid a 3-game losing streak. This was the first time the UTSA game they'd lost back-to-back games at any point during this season. So we turn our attention to North Texas. This is going to be another one where Rice is going to be the underdog for the third week in a row. They'll be going on the road to Denton, where they've had an adventure when it comes to football games the past couple times they've been up there. And they're playing a North Texas team that it was really interesting going into the year. Everybody pretty much agreed that UTSA was going to be really good. Everyone pretty much agreed that they thought UAB was going to be pretty good. Oops. Western Kentucky at the top of those standings. Those three were pretty much locked in. After the top 3 in preseason polls, everyone was kind of like, FAU maybe, North Texas, UTEP, we don't know. Well, North Texas has responded. If they win on Saturday, they are going to the conference championship game against UTSA, which is something that, we haven't really had it in our forefront of thought since, they had a different quarterback, I guess current CFL star down there in Denton. What do we make big picture of the unexpectedness, if that's fair, of North Texas, run to a potential conference championship game and just kind of the team that they've assembled this season?
Well, they win the right games. Outside of their last game, they fell to UAB over in Birmingham, and go figure on that one too. Then UAB for almost a half place close at LSU. But anyway, they run the ball really well, and that's the number one thing that has really jumped out at me in preparing for this, and just seeing their huge running game totals, how it's all built. Everybody thinks when you think of North Texas, Ani and their great receiving core, which they've got some good deep threats, and KD Davis on defense, but good gosh, they can run the ball. And that's a big thing that worries me in this matchup, not from the afraid sense, but just seeing their numbers that they have gone against some other teams and been just been dominant in a lot of stretches, but then they'll come back and they won't always be that consistent. And you don't know who's in the backfield too, because of the guys that they have been without on the injury front. But they've got, it's a 7th year for Coach Luttrell. As we can you see Bordy there?
For a second, I thought you were going to say 7th year for quarterback Austin Ani, because it kind of feels like that.
It might as well be. He is he's a grown man, got a kiddo, married, and he's really progressed. You see his numbers there. He'll probably be a 3,000-yard passer by the time the season is over. And they've got a very balanced running game as well too. They Johnson had a couple of touchdowns actually against Rice last year. I don't know why that didn't save. So I might have some other issues off mic when we get done recording this. But look at their numbers, young Matthew.
That's a lot of green.
And green means you're up in the top 20 or 30 in the country in your category. And they average almost 500 yards a game, best in the conference. Passing-wise, Ani's no slouch, 3rd in the league. And running the football, it's well over 200 yards. And they're the least penalized team in Conference USA. But again, at UAB, which we're pretty familiar with, it seems like a year ago, they only had 105 rushing yards. So it seems like if you can stop that running game, which I'm not doubting Josh Piercy for anything after hearing him at the podium and looking into his eyes a few times, that guy is locked in. So I think if Rice can stop this running game, they could be in for a good afternoon. But what do they do on the other side of the ball? We'll talk about later. But Ani still is no slouch passing the football. They've got the number 1 and number 2 yardage guys in the nation in Macklin and Shorter there in yards per catch, I should specify. But I don't want to go off and leave us both in the weeds there. But it's a really balanced North Texas team, but it only starts with running the football. Just is it going to be Ragsdale, Johnson, Adei? Attaway, I think, is a little bit banged up. So we don't know who they will put out there. But Coach Latrell, he's got it clicking. Yeah.
You hit on it. The word you used is balanced. And I think that's what every coach will go into a week and a season saying, that we want to be a balanced team. But this might be it personified. And I think one thing to note, that North Texas this year, when they throw less than 30 passes, and 30 is like not a small number, but when they throw less than 30, they're 4-0. This is a team that, and it's like, oh, they're less than, when they throw less than 15, no, 30 is a good amount. And that's what they want to do. They want to pick their shots and make them count. Austin Ani actually leads the nation and yards per completion. You mentioned those 2 big yak guy wide receivers. That's part of it, but they are going to run the football and kind of take their shots and be strategic about it. I think what's interesting is just, you went through the sheer number of different guys that do different things. I think they mix them in pretty well, and they are going to run a lot of different kind of schemes when it comes to where the ball is going and how they're running it. So it's going to be, something that the Rice defense, the Rice front 7, is going to have to be cognizant of and be aware of. You got a couple veteran guys on the O-line that's been retooled. So it's going to be interesting. It does come down always to stopping the run. And we've heard that, preached from the mountaintops here, but I think if you can do that, and you can force North Texas into passing situations when they don't want to be in passing situations, that's where it gets interesting. Because if you're giving them 3rd and 3, they can do whatever they want. They can run, they can throw, they can play action, they can do so many things, and that is going to leave a Rice defense that struggled on 3rd down. But by and by, they were 2-11 on 3rd down, getting off the field on defense against UTSA, which that came out of nowhere. So we've seen them be able to get off the field. It's possible, but if you're going to do that, you need to make North Texas one-dimensional. Put them in obvious running situations, put them in obvious passing situations. Don't leave yourself for them to pick their poison, because they, this year, have picked the right one more often than not.
And what's encouraging to me is you saying that about Ani, the yards per completion, taking those shots. Sean Fresh isn't going to be out there most likely, but the way Trayvon Devone's, what's that?
I said I did know that. Thanks for rubbing it in.
I know you knew that, but I guess I was more the royal you, whatever. But
yeah, it's true.
If Jordan Dunbar is back, and we'll know more later today about that, and obviously right before the game, it makes you feel a lot more comfortable. But young Matthew, they are relentless going deep. And shades of me twitching in my sleep, thinking about what some teams have tried to do. This has been a good Rice secondary this year, but their depth has been tested here the last couple of weeks. But having Dunbar back really helps with that. And getting and JoJo Jean, there's no complaints too. But memory serves, I didn't look at the participation chart. I don't think he played last week.
Available.
Yeah, he wasn't available. And Narcisse, I know, got dinged up a little bit, so he didn't get any reps. But that wasn't the issue. The issue was Frank Harris is an all-power football god who did some things that I have not seen from the quarterback position at this level, and that includes—
put that on a bumper sticker.
He is just amazing for what Frank Harris did. And that I was like, okay. And then to hear Coach Bloomgren, you heard kind of a pause button there, but what he said at the podium yesterday, oh, I never seen that before. That made me feel a lot better with anyway, having that depth at the corner is important, but getting Devon's back, been comfortable with him. But so maybe that UTSA game was like easing back into this because the old man Ani, he ain't slowing down. He's going to go deep a lot against the Owl secondary. And it's not that they think less of the Owl secondary, but they don't mind testing those waters. They have deep shots, and more deep shots.
And then here's one thing that kind of plays into it that I think is worth noting. I don't know if you have this in front of you, but you know how many sacks per game North Texas allows this season?
It's not many. It's one or like 11. Yeah.
One. Yeah, the 11. They are 11th in the nation. One sack per game. And they're also right up on the list in tackles for loss allowed per game. Part of what has made this offense so effective is that Ani has time. Mm-hmm. And if you let him sit back, you have a 29-year-old man playing against 19-year-old kids sitting. I mean, I wish I was exaggerating, but I believe that's accurate. Man, he's up there. But that's what spells trouble, is the fact that you get him back there and you let him pick and choose between his options, and he will slice and dice you apart. I don't think he quite has the arm talent of some of the other quarterbacks that Rice has played this year. He might not be able to make, quite the arsenal of throws as somebody like Frank Harris has proven that he can do, but he's effective, man. And when you give guys time and you don't put them under pressure in this offense that is schemed up, one thing that Luttrell deserves credit for is his ability to get guys open. I mean, he's had some guys that have been just playmakers after the catch, but man, oh man, do they catch the ball in space, and that is the problem. So for Rice, can that front seven, you mentioned Josh Piercy, can they interfere with Ani? I mean, yeah, you want sacks, but let's not even get too crazy. Can you just get in the way, gum it up, and make him move off script? That's where Rice has success in this game.
You said something there that triggered, hey, show 12 chemistry right there. And a note I jotted down in the wee hours of the morning. They've got 12 different wide receivers that have caught a touchdown pass, and that's second in the nation. So that speaks to Ani's ability. Yeah, he might not have the golden arm, whatever that is, but they can spread it out. And that speaks to Coach Luttrell's and they ability, and Coach Blesh and Coach Maynard. They split up the OC duties. Their ability to spread things out, and sometimes it's more dangerous when you have not just that one All-American receiver, but a lot of really good all-conference guys. Sometimes that's tougher, coupled with a really good running game. And you mentioned that about the sacks. Don't sell short the fact that they get the ball out really quick. They're not Army in the fact that they're just going to run it, so the sack numbers are a little bit skewed, but they do get the ball out really quick too. But that opens it up for some of the hot routes they might run with Roberts. And they use the H-backs too. Their second leading receiver is Gums here, where they're H-backs that they line up out of the backfield. So I thought I would offer my 2 cents there that, yeah, their O-line, they did a good job retooling their offensive line, but Ani has that ability, grip it, rip it, and he gets it out in a hurry. And he's got that baseball outfielder shortstop arm too. So it's not like he's throwing a limp noodle out there. He can really hum it. And we'll know early how this game is in. If the Owls, anyway, don't want to get off too much in those. You're getting me excited here. I'm really looking forward to this game because it has developed into a rivalry. And you get to know these players on the other team too. And really, really hope Rice can have a good, strong start, limit the turnovers, obviously, and stop the run. And they keep up, get back to running the football like they did against Western Kentucky. Maybe they can lengthen this game out a bit.
Yeah, and speaking of getting to know these players, Austin Ani, I feel like, has been around for forever. One more guy that, and I think this was funny in Bloomgren's session with the media earlier this week. He said, I just about threw a party when he hit the portal. And He was talking about linebacker Katie Davis for North Texas, who did enter the transfer portal earlier. Oh man, I'm losing time. I think it was during the the summer, maybe, or late spring.
Summer, I
Toured
believe,
a couple SEC campuses. Went down to Texas A&M to check it out, I believe, per reports, and came back to Denton and is back on the team this year. And this is something that I think, all-time stats aren't the end-all be-all for how you kind of measure a guy's career, but it's the people, like he's 7th all-time on the school list for this. You're like, that seems pretty good, but I don't know. Katie Davis currently has 394 career tackles in North Texas. That's second all-time. Byron Gross right in front of him at 418. Doing some simple math, that's 24 tackles. North Texas wins this game and plays in a bowl game. That's 3 games for him to get 24 tackles. He could do that on Saturday, I feel like, at this point. But even if they lose and go bowling, he could get there. So this is a guy who's not only, been around a while, he's just been so good. And neutralizing, linebacker is kind of maybe a diminished position of importance in today's college football game.
Mhm.
Just the way that they D coordinators kind of scheme things up and how they position guys. But this guy is a problem, man. If there's one guy you have to stop and not let change the game, it's Katie Davis.
Yeah, he's definitely a problem. I'm glad you said that about the scheme. It seems to be going that way the last 3 or 4 seasons. But yeah, don't let his lack of wrecking the shop numbers, 2 tackles for loss, 1 sack on the year, and his 1 forced fumble came against UAB. Don't let that interfere with how much of a problem that he is. As you see my little nuggets there to trigger thoughts, just the way I do my note taking, that what coach told us yesterday, he's a phenomenal player in the box. That means he can make plays around a bunch of bodies in that close area to the line of scrimmage. And he's just great at flagging guys down the line of scrimmage. And I put that note about the party that was thrown. His 5th game against Rice. So no stranger. And he's a local guy up there in North Texas. While Ennis isn't right next door to Denton, I'm sure he wanted some more of Mama's home cooking there to stay and finish what he started. I really, in this age where everybody just leaves at the drop of a hat, I respect a guy that stays with it to the end, because maybe that's not fair sentimentality, because he's a guy that kind of started his career when that wasn't the in vogue thing to do, but he's just a workhorse for them on that defensive side. And they got a familiar name there on defense with the coordinator, Phil Bennett, too. But however you want to take it the rest of the way. But yeah, Davis he's a monster. In Jordan Brown, I remember following Jordan Brown when he was in high school up the road at Huntsville. He's phenomenal, and he doesn't get to play that much behind Davis. But yeah, they've got an outstanding linebacking room.
Yeah, Larry Nixon is another guy who I feel like has been there for quite some time. There's so many options in the middle, and I think what has kind of evolved for this team, I'm going to go backwards to the defensive backs, and I think this is a really interesting development. And when I look at this team, that's different is their secondary play. The past couple years, you look at like the 2019, 2020, 2021 teams, it was just awful. Like they couldn't, like their coverage units just got abused, and it just was not very good. And you look at what they've done through the portal and through kind of some of the guys that they've brought up. Deshaun Gaddy has been kind of the stalwart that stuck it out and been around. But the rise of Ridge Texada, who I didn't realize this before the game, he is second in the FBS with 18 passes defended. 18 in 11 games. That's wild. For instance, I think Rice's PBU leaders, what Jordan Dunbar might be at like 8, 9. You throw in a pick, like that's otherworldly. And Rice has some good defensive backs. So his play has been really good. Their ability to keep defenses in front of them has just been really impressive. And when you have an offense that is gaining so many yards per play, to turn around on defense and to be able to not have, I don't know, maybe an obvious weakness is good. I know they kind of are near the bottom of the conference in passing yards per play, or yards passing per game allowed. And, that is what it is. But they have enough playmakers there that I feel like Rice's best chance is to hit on a couple of those big plays because, down to down, they have some dudes that on a one-on-one moment can still win. And I think that's what's different with this North Texas defense than in years past.
Yeah. They don't have the big name guys like Ladarius Hamilton on the defensive line like they had in the past, even though Richards has had their best year making tackles for a loss and with the sacks, but they just do a really good job spreading things out. I don't put every little nook and cranny of stats on the defensive board. It gets too busy for these old middle-aged eyes. But Brown is good for them. Johnson, who Coach Bloomgren singled out, was a teammate with Quint Titt at Abilene Christian. But they, again, like it's been in vogue, maybe not to the extent of UTSA last week where they play 11 or 12 guys. They'll play a solid 9 or 10 on that defensive line. But here you go. They can be run on. 4 times this year, they've allowed 200-plus rushing yards, with the high being UNLV's 365. So this is another thing where even though they're not awful with their rush defense, I mean, they're 8th in the conference, and their pass defense is bottom 20 in the country. There is a sliver there where you could see Rice with, let's admit it, I had a stat, what was it? Now I already deleted it because of the 5 or 7 yard game that Rice had against UTSA, but Owls were averaging, it was 190 yards the last 4 games, it's coming to me, before the UTSA game. That's not nothing, okay? That's not as good as North Texas's average the whole year, but it speaks to the Owls finally getting some offensive line symmetry and crazy concept, playing the same guys in back-to-back-to-back games during that stretch. There's some getting to be got, as Coach Dykes would say, rest in peace. But can the Owls string together those drives? And with North Texas not being a great third down defensive team, there's something there. There's a path to make this a game late. And can't wait to see it unfold. Our guy Juma, does he get some heavy reps? How do they mix that up with Cam Montgomery? Delightful. And I can't wait to see you there on Saturday. I
mean, these are all good questions, good thoughts. And I think kind of wrapping it up, as we kind of talked about, they've had, Bloomgren has called this Rice team Jekyll and Hyde this year, as far as you don't know what you're going to get. I feel like North Texas has been largely a good football team, and obviously they're have the potential to play for a conference championship, so they're not bad, but they have had a heck of a lot more Jekyll and Hyde moments than even Western Kentucky has, UTSA has. When they have lost their games, it's been, this one's over, and things just kind of go downhill. So can you catch them on one of their off days when you're on one of your good days? Can you get pressure on Austin Aune? Can you run the football? Because we saw the script. The script was there in Western Kentucky. Control the clock, run the football, keep the high-powered offense off the field. Just don't throw interceptions in the red zone. This is tip. You will not win if you do that. This is advanced rocket science with Matthew Bartlett as we close out the last regular season blue and gray Rice football preview show. But yeah, we'll see. It has the potential to be good. I know Rice is the underdog in this one. It is a Conference USA game, folks. Who knows what is going to happen? Like JP said, I'll be there. We'll be there. The last one.
Right?
The last, that is correct. The last Conference USA game for Rice football.
Maybe not for North Texas. Rice hopes to make it their last game, but
I did have just a little twinge when I parked right by the stadium yesterday and at practice, and just kind of was walking around the concourse, and I saw that CUSA logo on the field, and I was like, "That's about to be a star."
Mm-hmm.
Wild. We made it almost almost AAC time. We got a couple other things going for. We got a Rice volleyball, got a CUSA title they just locked up. Maybe get a couple more conference titles for Rice athletics before they switch. Go out on top. It'd be nice to go out on top in this one for Rice to win and get to 6 wins and not have to worry. I would love nothing more than my expansive spreadsheet of how Rice gets to a bowl at 5 wins to be rendered moot. That would be great. But we'll see, man. If nothing else, it'll be entertaining. Dion Noville is not there this time for North Texas to get 900 tackles for a loss. So I'm excited, man. We'll see what happens. But
yeah, I can't wait.
Until then,
yeah. Go ahead. Sorry, I messed it up.
No, this is we are baling wire and duct tape. Is that the expression?
Something like that.
To put a good Texas tie up on the end. I was just going to close us out. You have a goodbye to say to the folks who stuck with us for a whole year?
No, just I'm so thankful, very thankful. Every broadcast I sign off and everything, give thanks. Thank you to those that click on us and hear our silliness surrounded by some football chit chat. So grateful, and so grateful for you, Brother Bartlett, for the work you do covering these Owls. And I can't wait. I'm going. Most people probably know by now, but this is kind of the home country near my dad and near family and friends. So getting back up there near the Metroplex, even though I didn't grow up in DFW per se, but it's always good going back and getting a win in your own backyard. Boom.
Yes. Selfishly, this is just therapy for us to make sure we don't get too high or too low with Rice football, because you never know what's going to happen. But yeah, I echo those sentiments. It's been a blast, JP. Always love doing this with you, and thankful for everybody that pays attention and listens, because we could just sit in a room and talk to ourselves, but it is nice every now and then to hear that other people are at least mildly entertained.
And that's
what we're here for.
That's what we do. We always sit around and talk. The people think this is, they're just putting on a thing for the mic, all the glitz and glamour, all the celebrity that comes with this blue and gray show. No, this is exactly how we talk around the table or at the practice field. So
real life. Well, a couple more practices, a little bit more turkey, then it's game time. But we will maybe we'll see you later, maybe not. But until then, we're gonna sign off. You all enjoy your holidays. Happy Thanksgiving. Rice fight
never dies.